All right. Hello and welcome to the 113th episode of Sutton and Back Family Style. Coming from New Orleans, I'm Jason.
And I'm Bill from New York City this time.
Yeah.
So it's been a really interesting week with the playoffs starting in the NHL and the NBA.
Yes, indeed.
And Jason and I were talking offline about Orlando. And Orlando's a kind of a fun team to watch.
They are.
Play really hard, really aggressive, force the action. And I mean, they're playing with house money right now. I mean, they were 7 seed, and they are just, taking it to them. It's kind of fun.
They really are. And that's even, I think when you look back at all the top 10 picks they've had, none of those guys have looked like, whether it's Aaron Gordon, Jonathan Isaacs, Mo Bamba, eventually Markel Fultz, like none of those guys have looked like world beaters. I mean, it's
No,
the Terrence Rosses of the world and DJ Augustine.
DJ Augustine hit some big shots last night. Vukovic he's been consistent all year long.
Yeah.
And
Well, he's always been good at scoring and rebounding like that. He's not a rim protector and he's not great on D. He's always been consistent at what he can do,
yeah, he's a nice 3-point shooter too, which I didn't know.
Yeah.
But he's got a real nice soft touch. So that was positive.
Kyle Lowry once again kind of came up short in the playoffs. I mean, he was 0 for 7 from the field, didn't hit a three, and he was 0 for 2 from the free throw line, only got to the line twice. And as much as they have Kawhi and, Obi Imanamadou, who I can't pronounce his name, and Gasol and some of those other guys, like they need Lowry, their, de facto Toronto leader to do something.
Yeah, they absolutely do. I mean, and that team played like they knew they were going to win all day, and they didn't win. I mean, it was kind of, they didn't panic. They played like they knew they were going to win because they just pasted the Magic the week before in Toronto. So I guess, it's kind of one of those things.
But again, Magic are complete house money right now. Like they've got no pressure on them. They probably are. People thought they might win one game, and they've already got that in the bank.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to go home no worse than 1-1.
Yeah.
But my NBA story is the disaster known as the Lakers. I mean, that is a mess.
It really, really is.
I have never, ever seen anything like this. I mean, it's a mess. I mean, I can't imagine. I know they had all these plans to drop payroll and get free agents. There's no way a free agent's going to go there.
No.
Or not a prime free agent. You're probably going to get somebody who go there just because it's the Lakers and they want to go there. But LeBron, the current roster, the coaching situation, and I'm going to bet Tyronn Lue's going to be the coach.
Which is what he wanted all along.
Yeah, I'd be shocked if Tyronn Lue's not the coach because when he's the coach, LeBron's the coach.
And then what are your assets? Because Josh Hart and Kyle Kuzma are nice players, but they're not moving the needle. Lonzo Ball looks like a mess. I don't know what he is. And then your best young player, Brandon Ingram, has, not to bring up health things, but he's got the blood clot issue, which we don't know when he can play again.
No.
And that affects his future,
I just don't know what they're going to do. And I would honestly tell you, because LeBron is there, they are saddled. I mean, I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, that team could be bad for the next 3 years.
And LeBron looked very vulnerable for the first time ever, physically speaking.
Yeah.
Eventually, Father Time and all those minutes,
they all add up. That's right.
For a decade, which has been fantastic for him. But, and much like Magic, who seems like, and I don't want to disparage Magic as one of the greatest players of all time, but as a coach, when it wasn't going his way and he wasn't great at it, he just walked away and quit in the middle of it. As a talk show host, when he was also a disaster, walked away and quit in the middle of it when he wasn't great. As a basketball analyst for ESPN, also walked away when he wasn't great at it. And now as a GM, just randomly just ups and leaves. And LeBron, when he was mad in Cleveland, gave up in the Celtics game, gave up in that Miami series towards the end. And then, now with the Lakers, it seemed like he just was like, oh, things aren't going my way this year. I'm just going to take it off.
Yeah, I honestly think that Magic saw what we just talked about.
Yeah.
And said, I don't want to be part of this.
But you kind of feel like, given his experience, I mean, maybe they should have known this going in, but it seems like to drop a bomb at that point and not even tell your employer, who you claim she's like a sister to you, you can't even, look her in the eye or send her a text or an email and being like, hey, I'm going to go on TV and announce that I'm walking away.
Well, it's a mess. But meanwhile, Luke Walton ends up with a new coaching job already.
Yeah. And good for him. Because I feel like,
Yeah, he got blamed for it.
because last year, those young Lakers towards the end of the season were playing really well. They were playing hard, and I know towards the end of the season, like some other teams aren't trying as hard, and it's easier for, like this year we had, a few different, like the Atlanta Hawks went on a big run towards the end when the games don't matter as much to certain teams. But I thought he was doing a good job. And then, this year it's been injuries, LeBron, Magic, just a complete disaster. And it seemed like the second Magic and LeBron got there, he was already out, theoretically,
Pretty much. Yeah. They never said it, but you could tell that he wasn't going to be LeBron's guy. I mean, there's no way.
No.
The Spurs Nuggets thing surprised me. I have to admit that.
The Patriots are in the NBA. You just can't count the Spurs out. They have great system and great coaching.
Yeah, and they win in Denver.
Yeah.
Now the Warriors Clippers, I expected that. I don't expect the Clippers to be, even though I know they had a decent season.
I think people feel like, the Clippers are feisty and they're probably going to take one at some point in the series, probably at home. Because they have a lot of pride. They have a lot of young guys, But this will be interesting to see, like, how the Warriors, like, what are they right now? Are they, are they the mess they've been all season? Or are they ready to just destroy people? And just, whether they're going to be there or not there with Clay's free agency, Boogie's free agency. I'm sorry, DeMarcus Cousins doesn't want to call Boogie anymore. And obviously Kevin Durant's leaving free agency. Are they going to suck it all up? Gather the troops and just
one last one, yeah.
And just go out for one last one.
I said all year I didn't think so, but, they could prove me wrong. I've been wrong all year long on whatever my predictions have been.
And obviously another big upset. Philly goes down to Brooklyn at home.
Yeah, but Brooklyn has played well the last 2 months.
They really have
played well. And I think the Sixers were already reading the press clippings and they were already advancing themselves. That's going to be that. I think that series is going to be the struggle. I think that one's going to be real interesting all the way through.
Now, some of this has me wondering, psychologically speaking, is we're in a new time of, player empowerment. And you look at teams like, obviously the Lakers. They bring in, have 5 guys on that team with the Rondos and the Beasleys and some of those guys who are on 1-year deals. You have a bunch of young guys who, as soon as LeBron gets there, they're in trade rumors the entire time. You look at Philly, they have 2 impending free agents, and Ben Simmons' name is always brought up in trade rumors as he doesn't seem like a good fit next to Joel Embiid. The Celtics, who have also been, sort of a disappointment, a mess, in the Kyrie, am I staying, am I going? Like, in this sort of player empowerment, sign 1-year, 2-year deals, I'll leave whenever I want to leave. You got to wonder psychologically, how does that affect a team?
Yeah. You can't really plan, because you don't know. Everybody's kind of up in the air. People are talking to people and recruiting people, and agents are talking to people. It's a mess. And
you're all worried about your own brand and not so much, I know that's old man on the street corner when people are like, Giannis plays basketball the right way because he doesn't want to be in Space Jam and, he just wants to do basketball. But, there's probably something to that. So, there's the things that analytics can't explain and never will be is chemistry. And if people are worried about their own brand and their impending free agency and all these other things, and am I going to be here? Am I not going to be here? If they're going to build this super team with the impending free agent, am I gone? Like, it's got to have some effect on the team.
I will be curious as to how Milwaukee does now that they're in the playoffs and then as a 1 seed.
Yes,
because now there's expectations. There's been expectations all year long that they're a very good team. Now they have expectations as a favorite, and I think that makes it a little harder.
It's true. And you also have to wonder, again, we're in the time we're in, and, Pandora's box is open. We're not closing it. But there was probably a time, even like a decade ago when you were traveling with your team on the bus, you're on the bus, on the plane, on whatever. When you're traveling, when you're in hotels, you're playing video games, you're playing cards, you're playing with your teammates. And now with everybody worried about their brand and social media and Snapchat and Facebook, like you're there in the same room, but the camaraderie doesn't seem like maybe some of that's been missing too.
Yeah, that's a big issue. Flipping over to the NHL, I was at the Lightning game Wednesday night, and they were winning 3-0, and now they're down 2, and they were winning 3-0 in the first period. Now they're down 2-0, having lost 2 games at home, and have only scored one goal since the first period. Unbelievable. I mean, unbelievable.
And just because this is a Pittsburgh related one, the Penguins are down 0-2, and that's a bummer. But they were on the road and they're not favored. So,
well, we'll see what they do going home tonight, and we'll see if going on the road helps the Lightning. But I mean, I'm not a big hockey fan, but I am absolutely devastated that the Lightning are down 2-0.
And I know we brought this up on the before, but I was having this conversation with one of my hockey friends at work on set. Hockey is the one sport that still just, no matter how much HD and how great the TV gets and the camera angles, like hockey is still it's still a far superior live event.
Yeah, I can't argue that.
Like it loses the most in translation, I think, from live to TV. And I don't know what they can do to fix that, but because I think, basketball is obviously great live, especially if you got good seats, but basketball works great on television too.
It does.
And football is a superior television product.
Football is much better on TV than it is live, which is one of the problems.
Sport like golf, where you can't really be at every single hole for every single player, works much better on television too. Now that we're talking about Masters earlier, but hockey just it loses at least 30-40% of what's great about it in the transition, and I don't know where they go or how they fix that.
I don't know if I don't know if anything can happen.
Yeah,
I mean, it just is what it is.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I'm watching, I've got the Masters on while we're doing the show.
Of course.
And, I really like this Francisco Molinari. I think he's very, very consistent. But Tiger's playing pretty well right now. And they're in the same threesome because they had to have threesomes instead of twosomes because of the weather.
Yeah.
And I think they're all kind of feeling the Tiger approaching. And it's interesting to watch. And the fans are only for Tiger. I mean, it's, no matter what it goes on, I mean, they love Tiger. And I mean, that's a lot of pressure on a guy. So he's still hanging on through 5 holes. He's still up. He's up 2, but I think Tiger's going to take one back here from him.
But you also have the second group coming behind him where guys are also just a stroke or 2 behind too.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but, we'll see what happens. It's one of those things where this is such an amazing golf course, but they really have good scores this year as opposed to last year. I mean, the scores this year are really, really, pretty good scores, and there's a lot of people in contention.
Yeah. Now, today we've got. Do you see any upsets in today's games? We got Celtics, Pacers, and the Pacers seem like they're just limping into the play. As great as they played, losing Oladipo and some other injuries.
Yeah, I think they're too banged up, but you never know. I mean, I would think the Celtics win at home. And maybe the Celtics are relieved that the regular season is over, and it's now they're in the playoffs, and now it's a new page for them, and now they're where they're supposed to be. So maybe people will stop, writing the comparisons and talking about it. Maybe they could just play basketball, but it just seems like a team that I don't know. There's just something missing. There's some kind of so there's no unifying effort there. It just seems like I don't know.
And some people have speculated that even though he's obviously sort of their moxie and their fiery emotional leader, that maybe Marcus Smart absent does help them in a weird way because it opens up minutes for Jaylen Brown, opens up minutes for Jason Tatum and Terry Rozier. So now all of a sudden you're forced, Instead of having all these guys looking to play 35 minutes a game, when Marcus Smart's there, everybody not suffers, but everybody has to lose minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And now maybe this naturally shortened your bench a little bit playoff wise.
Interesting perspective. I mean, I really think he is the heart and soul of that team.
He
I
is.
mean,
He's
he
got
makes things happen. But, maybe it's a good point. Maybe other guys now will feel that they can play a bigger role and they'll all come out and show what they can do. So I would love to see the Celtics play well. I'd like to see what happens.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess, I'm kind of really I'm going to root for Milwaukee because, how often do you get to root for a team from Milwaukee, right?
Very infrequently, unless you're in the NFL, obviously.
Yeah. So it's such a good story that team's playing well and they're in their new building and fans are excited and everything's going well for a team that nothing's gone well probably since Kareem left. How many years ago that is.
And we should give a special shout out to Coach Bud.
Yes.
Because you watched the way the Milwaukee Bucks played last year. And even as an NBA fan and clearly not a coach or player, you just couldn't believe they were running the kind of offenses and defenses they were running with the talent that they had. Like, it seems so obvious to everybody, get a couple shooters out there and let, Giannis sort of operate in the way Giannis can operate. And, push the pace, have him one-on-one, have him be able to kick out to shooters. Like, a lot of that stuff just seemed obvious, but, under the old coaching staff, that was just not the way they played.
No, and I mean, he probably doesn't get enough credit because of the talent he's got, but I mean, he's done a hell of a job.
A hell of a job.
Unbelievable job. So, NFL draft coming up.
Yes.
2 weeks, less than 2 weeks away, right? It starts on Thursday night.
Starts Thursday night is round one, and we've got, the most intriguing pick is still probably their first pick in the draft.
So are you buying the Arizona Cardinals taking a quarterback number one? Are you buying they're taking Kyler Murray number one, or do you think they're going to take that pick and trade it and get some other things for it? What are you thinking?
I think it's probably a big eternal debate. I think, I'm sure they're probably a split organization where a lot of people realize they had a terrible offensive line. And Rosen really, you took Rosen with a 10th overall pick. You traded up to get him. You obviously believed in him, 12 months ago.
Yeah, and he ran for his life all last year.
And it's like, if we could flip this pick to somebody, pick up an extra first this year, maybe an extra first next year, maybe a 3 or a 4. Because again, when you have, Larry Fitzgerald is still your best wide receiver, probably. No offensive line, and you've lost a lot of you need everything.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, if you feel that, Josh Rosen is maybe, what's a good example? More of an Andy Dalton. And Kyler Murray is, once in a generation talent. You got to go for Kyler Murray, right?
I would think so.
I mean,
if you think he is this absolute, if you think he's a combination of Baker Mayfield and Russell Wilson, and you think he's going to be dynamic and be your guy, no matter what you have, short of, Andrew Luck or something like that, you got to go. You got to give it a shot because you're Arizona,
right? And I realize, as the quarterback of an NFL team, you're going to sell jerseys, but it also, from a business standpoint, if Kyler Murray is what you predict Kyler Murray to be, even if Josh Rosen turns out to be good, you're going to have non-Cardinal fans rocking Kyler Murray jerseys,
right?
Because he could be the Steph Curry of the NFL. Because people love little guys. Because most people in the world are little. And if you have this little dynamic, like you said, part Baker Mayfield, Russell Wilson with the athleticism of Michael Vick thrown in, he's going to become much watch TV. He's going to become much have merchandise. He could be one of the bigger stars in the NFL. Although personality wise, I haven't seen it from him on camera.
So in my draft story, I'm trying to figure out the New York Giants.
You figure you passed on 4 starting quarterbacks last year.
Uh-huh.
Now, you didn't have a chance at Baker, but you could have had Sam Darnold. You could have any of those other guys. The year before, you could have gone up and probably gotten a Rosen or a Mahomes. You were in a better position than the Chiefs were. And then this year, you have potential 4 first-round picks in quarterback. Although I guess
you absolutely you absolutely have to draft a quarterback unless you think you're going to find a free agent somewhere. And I don't think there's anybody out there. So, I mean, you're stuck with, I mean, Eli's your guy this year. But what is your plan for 2020? And I'm not seeing a good plan.
No, and I don't, like I said, I know it's, whether you're the Dolphins or the Giants, it's, suck for Tua or some, a Frome or, you got the kid out of Clemson eventually. You've got all these quarterbacks coming in the pipe, but I feel like you always do. But if you're the Giants, you have 2 first-round picks this year, and they've done a really weird thing. You trade Odell Beckham away, and then you sign Golden Tate, who's a very fun player, but you gave him quite a bit of money.
Right.
You re-upped with your other wide receiver, Sterling Shepard, on a 4-year, $41 million deal. Well, he clearly has shown he's got the ability. He hasn't really put up the numbers yet. And I know from watching the Giants last year, it did not seem like Eli Manning had the ability to throw the ball downfield. Like he couldn't put pressure on the defense vertically. And he may still be a smart guy, and he may be the nicest guy in football and all this yada yada stuff, but I don't think you can pass, 3 drafts in a row trying not to get a successor.
I'm wondering if they try and package the two picks.
I mean, if the Cardinals are off, if they are looking to move,
Yeah, Rosen would be, he's not that different than Eli Manning.
No.
I mean, he's the same kind of quarterback. If you like that kind of quarterback, if you like that kind of system, then maybe that's your play. That if Arizona takes him, they've got to move him. And if they've got to move him, then maybe you get a little bit better deal.
Right. And maybe, since you have the 2 1s, maybe your high 2 is enough to trump everybody's offer for Rosen.
Yeah. So I think that to me is going to be the most intriguing story of the first round. And I mean, the Jets took a quarterback last year. They signed Le'Veon Bell. I mean, you're in a city where you're fighting for attention. You're fighting for, ratings and everything else. Now, the Giants are absolutely the franchise of this city.
Right.
The Giants and the Knicks and the Yankees. I mean, by far, those 3 teams. But you don't want to let the Jets get too far up on your radar. You want to keep the Jets down if you can, because, they can have an exciting team.
I mean, the Jets have a nice new uniform.
Gotham Green.
Like you said, Gotham Green, you got some nice young players on that team. The Patriots, I mean, I know Guerrero, his, connected to steroid agent, or not agent, doctor says that Tom Brady's going to play till he's 50. He came out and said that now. And we are in a situation with Tom Brady where, like, until he walks away and says he's done, I don't know when it's going to end. Like,
really? I mean, yeah. I mean, I just don't know. He doesn't seem to be physically slowing down. He was never fast. I mean, his skill is he gets rid of the ball quickly. He can see the field better than anybody else. And he doesn't have to elude a lot of things.
No.
Because the refs are not going to let him take a big hit.
And, he's arguably got the greatest coach in NFL history.
Yeah.
And they always scheme well, and they always seem to do what they need to do. Neither one of us feel like Gronkowski's really retired. So he could come back for a playoff push next year. And
sure.
I mean, I know, we watched Peyton Manning, not be able to throw the ball, but still win a Super Bowl with that great defense. But Peyton Manning also had 2 or 3 neck surgeries. And Brady is, outside of the 1 year he missed with the ACL when Matt Castle came in, like, Brady's been healthy. Like, I don't see anything, and I've never seen anyone more dedicated. I mean, I'm sure that I don't want to disparage anybody else, but I've never seen anybody more dedicated to a crazy diet, workout regime, stretching,
No, I haven't either. And I couldn't do that diet.
No. And I mean, I know he goes to bed every night at like 8:30, and like he's anything he could possibly do to keep his body, and I know everyone knows this as you get older, not everybody, hopefully we have some younger listeners too, but all of a sudden you can pull a muscle stretching. Like it just, you're not as bendy and normal as usual. And he's on 44 this year, and it's amazing that he's still,
I would have thought there would have been some drop off last year, and there wasn't.
No, and I mean, I think, some of the knocks on him last year, during the regular season, he's going to make sure he doesn't take that big hit, even if he looks like, in football terms, he's soft for just crumbling right away or just diving on the ground to avoid the big hit. But I mean, he knows how to preserve himself,
Yeah. Well, we will. This is a story we will be watching closely the next week and a half, because I think this is going to be a very, very interesting first round.
And I think the series I'm most intrigued by, and it's not just my anti-Hardenism, but Jazz Rockets is a series that we didn't discuss earlier. But I mean, those are two. The Rockets are not an easy out, I don't think.
No,
but neither are the Jazz. The Jazz could really give them. You figure, and I know you don't want to have recency bias, but in the last game of the year, Giannis took it to Philly. Just took it to him. Dunked all over Embiid. Made Simmons look just weak as hell. And then on the other side, the Rockets had a chance to clinch the 2 seed against Oklahoma City, and they blew a late game lead and gave up a crazy 3 to Russ and a crazy 3 to Paul George and dropped from the 2 seed to the 4 seed, which means they would play Golden State in round 2, and they've got a much tougher. So when the Rockets needed the big play, they didn't get the big play.
No, I just don't. I've never been sold on the Rockets as a team with enough heart to win. Okay? And I love Mike D'Antoni as an offensive coach, but I've never seen the Rockets as a team that, if they needed a stop, could get a stop.
Right.
But James Harden could do whatever he wants because it's the James Harden rules of basketball.
And that's also the very interesting thing about that series is how many of these flop, is he still going to get the same flop calls that he's getting during the regular season? Hopefully not, but we just don't know.
No, we don't know. We don't know if the refereeing in the playoffs is going to be no blood, no foul, that you're going to be able to do almost anything you want, if it's going to be real ticky-tacky. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I got a couple food moments for you.
I'd hope so in New York City. So,
well, the first one's in Hackettstown, New Jersey.
Okay.
And I was at Centenary on Thursday night, and they took me to dinner at a restaurant called Toscano. Father, mother, son was the waiter. Father was the maitre d' and the cook. Mother was assisting the maitre d' and cleaning tables and going around circling people. Not an overly complicated menu, but really, really good. Really good Italian food. Appetizers they had meatballs for appetizers. They were off the chain. I had fettuccine bolognese that was very, very good. The chicken parm looked amazing. Every dish I saw looked amazing. And it was just one of those guys where you could tell how the pride. It was like it was an old building on Main Street, which is like a couple hundred years old. It was just like every table was full for the hour and 45 minutes we were there. And that to me is a big statement.
Very much so.
And it was bring your own bottle. And so there were constantly people coming to the door, and they were being turned away because there wasn't anywhere for them to stay. It's not a big restaurant. It's maybe 16 tables.
Wow.
But just packed the whole night. So that was really good. And then yesterday, we were at the Legends Club at Yankee Stadium, which is, ridiculous. I mean, it's always ridiculous. Crab claw, king crab legs, lobster tail, cooked order pasta, stuffed shells, carved filet mignon, sushi bar. I mean, anything you can imagine. And then when you go out to your seat, it's still all the food you want. And it's, cheesesteaks, sausage and peppers, burgers, anything you want. I mean, it's just the most amazing thing. And when my column comes out on April 29th, I have stated that the Legends Club at Yankee Stadium is the best premium experience in the country. And once again, it proved out. Our waitress was there, and if you didn't want to go to the buffet, she'd go get it for you and bring it back. Or if there was something you wanted on the in-stadium menu, she'd go get that for you. So it was pretty incredible.
That's pretty nice. That's incredible.
Very nice. So, two great food experiences this week. And for my entertainment moment, it's yet to come today because we're going to the John Oliver show tonight, which I've always wanted to do. And the last couple of shows, he's been amazing. Last week was about mobile homes, which was really interesting. Did you see any of that one?
I did watch that one. It was very interesting. It's more than I knew.
His staff is so good. what they research and everything, and how they come up with these ideas and the depth that they go to. It's almost like when 60 Minutes used to be a very investigative show where they'd go undercover and do things.
Yeah.
John Oliver's crew does that and still is able to he uses comedy to bring a problem to your attention.
He does.
And I've always liked the approach. He gets your attention.
And they destroyed that guy. But what's really sad is, even though he said, in his video, what he makes more money on, absolutely horrible things about people in general.
Yeah.
It's sad that's still, he's still operating. That's still their thing, that's not going away.
No. And he's teaching people how to take advantage of other people.
Right. And he's got more than enough people willing to follow in his footsteps. And it's a very sad.
It's a sad commentary on our society. It really is.
Well, I don't have a food moment, and my entertainment moment is almost an anti-entertainment moment. For whatever reason, as with my friend, we decided we were going to watch 2 awful movies.
I can hardly wait to hear this one. So
we started out with Escape Room, which is a combination of Final Destination, Saw, and, it's everything you can imagine. Like, basically, they think they're getting invited to, an escape room to win $10,000, and it turns out they're trying to be murdered. We followed that up, and that actually had over 40% on Rotten Tomatoes. So that was almost a good movie. Not that Rotten Tomatoes are the end-all, be-all, but, But then, just because I had to see it, I watched Holmes and Watson.
Okay.
I figured John C. Reilly, Will Ferrell.
And Will Ferrell.
It's Gary Sanchez Productions. I expected it, when I went in expecting it to be bad. But it's so bad that it's hard to even enjoy as a bad movie.
Yeah, especially when it's a subject matter that you kind of like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the coup de grace is a palate cleanser over the course of the weekend. I tried to watch The Silence, the Netflix original movie, which is in the vein of The Quiet Place and Bird Box. You got a cast. You have the daughter from Mad Men, Stanley Tucci. We all like Stanley Tucci.
I love Stanley Tucci.
And it was maybe the worst movie of the 3.
No.
Easily. And
wow.
You got a disaster where you have these sort of blind bat crazy creatures that if you make noise, they find you and kill you. But it was just so full of holes and so poorly done in every single way. It was like, oh my. It just seemed like they showed up on set without a script. They got a decent cast, and they were like, all right, so people liked Quiet Place, Bird Box. Let's just kind of redo that again. Let's go. And it seemed like they were trying to figure it out on the fly, and it was absolutely awful. So I had 3 terrible movies this weekend.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't expecting you to tell me that Holmes and Watson was good.
No.
But I'm kind of shocked that after Bird Box and after Quiet Place that you would try a third one, unless is this one older than those?
No, it's a new movie. I know Bird Box is an older book than Quiet Place. Because people, when they were trying to call Bird Box a copy of Quiet Place, people pointed out Bird Box is a book much older than Quiet Place.
Okay.
So I think, it's, experiential horror. I think, where it's like you can put yourself in, it's easier to put yourself in, I think what really made The Quiet Place work, because I think it's a movie just rife with holes, plot holes and everything else. But I think if you saw that in the theater with everybody attempting to be as quiet as possible, I think that would be a really cool experience. And I think you're trying to recreate that experience of relatable, not everybody is chased by a guy in a mask, a la Mike Myers, Friday the 13th sort of situation, but everybody, can imagine trying to be super quiet or not see, you can do,
Yeah.
And it just seems like, in Netflix's attempt to just put out as much content as possible, all while raising their prices to $13.99 a month, claiming that there's better stuff coming along the way. But, speaking of business moments real quick, did you see the Disney Plus announcement?
I did.
So for $6.99 a month, you get the vault of all the old Disney movies.
Right.
You're getting all the Marvel movies. You get Marvel TV shows. You have Jon Favreau, the man behind Iron Man and a number of other movies, making The Mandalorian, the Boba Fett, show. You have every episode of The Simpsons ever.
Yep.
because they own Fox now, and they're coming out swinging at Netflix at $6.99 a month, which is half of what Netflix is going to cost.
And are they going to do original programming as well?
Yeah, well, they already have, like I said, they have The Mandalorian. They have 2 or 3 Marvel shows in the works. They have a Lady and the Tramp show, which seems a bit odd. They have a Jeff Goldblum Loves the World show.
Ugh.
People are into Jeff Goldblum for some reason. I don't know. I'm not saying I have nothing against him, but it seems like the love of Jeff Goldblum is kind of bizarre at this point.
Yes.
But, and the coup de grace that I think Disney has by the time they enter, they're launching this in the fall. They own Hulu and they own ESPN. So if you had a package where you could include Hulu, ESPN Plus, and Disney Plus at the same price of Netflix,
So you see it. You see the $6.99 as the intro, and then you add a couple premium products, and you get $13.99.
Yeah,
that's a good prediction. That makes a lot of sense.
because then you're bundling, which every company wants. But now all of a sudden, it's like if I'm only going to spend X amount of dollars on, because everybody's got their own streaming service now. I like Netflix, but if I'm getting my Hulu, ESPN, and Disney Plus, that might be enough. That's where my money's going to go. And I'm already paying for Amazon Prime because of free shipping on orders and everything else. Maybe those are my 2 streaming services.
Maybe so.
Because I think at some point, I feel like people are, you're not going to subscribe to everything.
No, it's a good thing to look at.
And this is with Apple Plus looming in the background, and who knows who, and Google and everybody else coming as well. So,
well, before we sign off, Tigers 1 behind now, and other people are creeping up on Francisco. So it should be a very interesting afternoon. And with the weather as a possible factor at 3:00, it could be really interesting. But these guys should be done by 3:00.
Yes, which is good.
So we'll see. All right. Well, and tonight is Game of Thrones.
Yes.
So we'll talk about the debut episode of that next week, and we'll be closer to the draft, and we'll see where we go.
Yes. Once again, please rate us. We could definitely use the ratings on iTunes. Just even if you just click 5. You don't have to put a whole review. Just click the star system. Give it
5 stars,
please. And if you enjoy what you hear, by all means, go to Patreon, become a Sutton family member, and help contribute. I think it's the sound. We've made the sound better, and we got some other issues we can hopefully bring about in the future. So enjoy.
All right, everybody, have a great week.
NBA playoffs. Have fun.
Get your taxes in.